In today's test we're going to try and weed some carrots. That's our lovely carrots down there. Let's zoom in on them. There they are. So we've already been on the app in the control room and programmed the control room database table to send this robot down that bed of carrots. So you can see the tractor's waiting patiently at the beginning of one of the beds. So I go to fetch, then I decide which bed I want to work on. I go crops April the 1st. There we go, the crops have materialised. And I go to add that root system to the overall route that I want to send to the table. It turns purple, and then when I've got a complete route set up, which might include some waypoints at the beginning with a bit of a turn, I'll create send, so that sends it to the actual table which the machine will pick up. And there we go. So the route is now up in the cloud waiting for the machine to download it. So all it's doing in terms of automatic autonomy is using GPS to control the steering and navigate to centimetre level accuracy, which is really handy because I don't have to then control the steering with this radio controller. I can just let it carry on. What I do have to do is to control the claws in the y-axis. Just change them a little bit because there's no camera operating on this system at the moment to detect the lines of carrots. So one thing that I have done recently is change the shape of the claw. So you can notice that it's swept on the bottom, and that should enable it to be self-cleaning. So in the previous test, that claw attracted, or it's like debris became glued onto the end of the claw, which effectively increased its diameter, and then that started to affect the crops slightly. So hopefully this swept claw will perform a little bit better. The other thing I've done is to put needle valves on the y-axis hydraulic cylinder, which is here, and also the z-axis cylinder here, so that enables much finer control. I think I should be able to see the needle valves. Just let that rise up. There they are. There's our two needle valves. I don't really need to adjust them as we're going along, they're preset now. But yeah, that's worked out quite neatly actually. But in the long term I'd want to have a bypass on the y-axis to do in-row weeding, but we're nowhere near that stage at the moment. We're still trying to get the system to work well on like semi-automatic control. Right, let's put the machine into gear and try and do some weeding. So here we go. It's moving like infinitesimally slowly, which is really good, especially when I'm filming it. And sunshine's still quite bright. I can't even see the screen, it's so bright. But occasionally a cloud comes over. I'm just hoping that this comes out okay. There's a cloud come over. No, it hasn't. So let me try adjusting the claw to the left slightly. That did actually do something because the speed of the claw changed. Try it again. It's moving really, really slowly. I've increased the speed slightly. All the claws are doing something. So all 3 claws are in, nice and deep in the soil, which is good. I'd be interested to see what the speed is actually. How fast are we actually going? So I just moved that y-axis system to the right there slightly. Let's have a look at the control panel. Speed wise, what's the speed? GPS speed 0.1 meters per second. 0.1 meters per second. So we lost a little bit there. I think that's because the front tyre went over the bed in a previous trial. So it's not the fault of the current trial. And the sun's gone in, which is nice, which makes the filming a little bit better. So it looks like it needs to go to the left slightly here. So I'm just doing this manually, so in the not too distant future we should have some cameras, and with carrots it will be line following algorithm based on a system called CV2 probably, so it won't use object recognition or artificial intelligence to follow those lines. It's much easier than that, especially if it's not too weedy, there's not too many weeds. It can quite easily distinguish lines of green stuff. But for now, it's quite happily doing it manually. I'm not really adjusting it much. It's going nice and slowly. So what's that point? So I've just moved it slightly to the right there. So that's that 100 millimeters per second, which is a really nice speed for testing. I've actually had it slower than this, probably half the speed. So I've had it at about 50 millimeters per second, but it gets a bit boring. It doesn't make a good video. So I think this bed, no, it's not actually ever been weeded before with these mechanical claws, but it's actually quite level anyway, which is quite useful. So the claws turn it into a really nicely manicured surface. It's like a CNC machine. It's very, very accurate. I could also, if I wanted to, adjust the tilt from side to side, but it doesn't really need it. It looks like some of the claws have coming out of the ground a little bit on the right hand side. So, oh no, it's gone back in again. So perhaps the tilt might have been useful there, but I don't think so. It's the right hand claws pulling up plenty of weeds. Not needed to adjust anything at all in the last couple of minutes. It's just doing a really nice job. So based on this test, I should really try and get some cameras up and running. Like, let's just put it down into the ground slightly. Let's come out of the ground there a bit more. So the needle valves on the Y and Z axis are working really well. So you could hardly see any movement in the claws when I adjusted the height. So there's a adjustment to the left now. And again, you can hardly notice it moving. I can tell it's moving because the claws are momentarily stopping. So that's it's not a kind of a problem, but it's a result of the flow divider valve. just instantaneously struggling to keep the pressure divided between the spinning claws and the rest of the system. So the claws are quite deep in the soil now. We're coming to the end of the bed, so it starts to get a bit scrappy towards the end. That's just the nature of the beast, really. So far I'd say it's working 100%. I've not noticed any issues where it's gone into the carrots or it's actually stopped weeding on either side. So and hopefully the camera shows the same thing. And the sun's got in. Oh, it's just taken out a whole clump of carrots there, but it's reaching the end of the bed. It's very scrappy, so it's now time to stop it and bring the revs down. Turn the claws off and try and bring the whole system upwards on the Z-axis before I drive forwards and bend the claws, which I've done a few times. Don't ask me about that, but these claws, even though they're on 20mm bar, still seem to bend quite easily. Actually, what's quite interesting to note here is the amount of debris which is attached to the end of the claws. It's still quite significant. Let's have a closer look at that, turn the revs down. So I think I can actually see the screen. It's amazing, the sun's gone in behind a cloud and I can see the screen on the camera. So you can see that there's a little bit of debris, well, quite a lot on this one. So the theory that the swept claw can shed the debris isn't working 100%. We don't really know what's going on in the ground. You know, maybe it's already shed some stuff, I don't know. It's hard to say. But what we could do is to add like a brush in there somewhere, so that the brush keeps the claws clean just by gently brushing against the surface. So I don't know how much debris will stick to it now, whether that'll get any worse or any better, but it certainly did that bed of carrots without any problems. So maybe it's acceptable as it is. So what I should do is to leave all that debris on the ends of the claws and try and do another test on another bed and see if it starts getting too close to the crop. Okay, I've got the machine going down a bed of onions now, and I've not cleaned the claws. I just want to see if it will attract more debris on the end of the claws, or if it's fine as it is and it starts to self-clean a little bit. So at the end of the bed we can see if it's got a massive great big clump of rubbish on the end of the claws or not. It's certainly not affecting the onions at the moment. Okay, it's going a bit faster than I'd like it to, really. But let's just see if I can control it at this speed. So far, so good. A couple of onions wiped out by front tyres on the previous test. So the claws are nice and deep in the soil, and I think I've only actually wiped out one onion so far, which is quite good. So these onions have been in the ground for quite a while, so the roots should lock themselves in quite nicely. So even if it gets hit by the claw a little bit, they should be okay. the speed is. I don't know. I guess the speed is 150 millimeters per second, maybe more. I'm not going to try and look at the screen because I'm doing quite a few sideways adjustments, and if I do stop doing that, it will start to destroy the crops. So maybe it's going at 200 millimeters per second, I don't know, but it would be in that kind of range anyway. So I'm quite happy with it so far. It's, even if there's debris attached to the claws, it's certainly not looking like it's affecting the crop at all. So I've just done a sideways adjustment there. It's interesting that earlier in the season, on another line of onions, the blackbirds were picking up the onions and throwing them across the seed beds a lot. So they cause a lot of problems earlier on, but they seem to have gone off and gone off to greener pastures, thankfully. They must have been hungry or bored in the spring, or early, in the spring. So they were causing a lot of problems on these onions, but not this particular bed. Another bed parallel, which I planted earlier in the season, which I've now largely abandoned. But this bed is doing really well. The onions are growing really nicely, and there's no pests, obvious. There's a big stone there which just got unearthed. Generally there aren't any stones in this soil, which is really nice. We're coming to the end of the bed. What's going to happen is nothing really. We've wiped out an onion, that's okay. So I have to be careful now. I need to get the claws up off the ground. That's the priority. No, I don't want to go sideways, I'm going to go up, please. So the needle valves are restricting the vertical motion quite substantially, which is really good. It means I've got lots of sensitivity, so it takes a bit longer to get up. Right, there we go. So the needle valves don't restrict the pressure, they restrict the flow. And let's turn the redstone on the engine. There we go. So let's look at the claws, see what debris we've got attached to them. So it doesn't look like it's much different to what it was before. Let's just spin them around a little bit. That one on the far right seems to have acquired a little bit more material, but they're not sticking out sideways too much. But I think a brush would help matters enormously if it's feasible to do that. I don't know, I haven't really thought about it. But the next step would be to try and integrate some cameras, see if we can do some line following so I don't have to adjust it. In terms of line following, these carrots are like a dead ringer for camera guided weeding. So whether line following will succeed on onions, I don't know. It's going to be a bit more difficult, but it's worth a go. I might use the combination of machine learning, object recognition, and the CV2, which is computer vision algorithms. I think that should work. If it was broccoli, which I've still got yet to plant some more broccoli, it would be a lot easier, because the system tends to recognize broccoli plants much better than onions.